Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of All About You. And today we're going to talk about dealing with loneliness. How are you, Matilda? Thanks for coming back.
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
Doesn't this sound so formal?
We just need a cup of tea now.
Oh, okay. And these are real cups, okay? These are not fake. And actually, we've got water in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lovely ones. Matilda, thank you for joining us again. We're going to talk about, on a more serious note, dealing with loneliness.
Yes.
You know, in a world where there's so many ways to connect, yet we are so disconnected. Now, what do you think about this?
There's a lot of lonely people out there. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, we live in an age of loneliness is, you know, when you feel like there's something missing, because there's a difference between wanting to be alone and being lonely on the inside. And there's a lot of people that have this loneliness on the inside. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking we live in an age where everything is fast-paced, fast-moving, social media, no one has time to stop, no one has time to even greet their neighbors. So it's having an effect.
We don't even know our neighbors many times.
Not at all. Yeah. And it's having an effect on people much more than we realize. People are feeling this lack of human connection.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a big thing now.
I would define it that way as well. Actually, you touched on something that is important for you to know the difference. When you see someone who likes to be by themselves, it doesn't mean they are lonely. I love my alone time. Actually, people who know me, they know that I love silence. I might be a bit too boring for some people, but lunchtime, dinner time, snack time, realize that these are all meal times. I love my quietness. I love it. And I think I'm like this because of my husband, because I come from a very loud family. Yeah. So I'm not lonely, but there's a difference there. You also mentioned there's a missing something. I would also add that loneliness is when you are amongst many people, but you feel like you said, you don't connect, nobody, usually people say, nobody understands me, or I don't feel like I belong. But the truth is, there's something else which will let you know along the episode of today. You will see loneliness in a different way from today on, okay? And for those of you who are Christians and you know where loneliness really comes from, because there are many theories. We know that there are many hormones that play a role in our mood. There's serotonin, or I don't know if I've pronounced it right, the feel-good hormone. Yeah. However, if it were just that, perhaps medication could resolve the problem, but it's not resolving. No. So it's a lot deeper.
So we have a very short video that explains more about loneliness. And did you know that it says loneliness leads to premature death, depression, sickness? Because back in the day, we had family connection. Yeah. Human beings were, had that companionship. They had family members.
They would have meals together.
They had meal times together.
Yeah. Some cultures still do that, but it's...
something that's growing out of... It's not happening as much anymore. And because of this, there are more and more lonely people, especially in the UK.
Yeah.
And
wow. It's not normal. Have a look at this video. We'll come back shortly after this.
Since the beginning of civilization, survival has been all about becoming part of a community and growing your own numbers. Family was the most cherished part of life, and without it, survival in our primitive, harsh world was certainly impossible. Fast forward to 5,000 years later, and everything has changed dramatically. The trend now is to be self-sufficient, independent and carefree. The focus is now on studying, working and making something of oneself. Whilst all that is necessary to survive in our modern world, the most primitive aspect of our social needs is often left neglected. This is because many people have preferred to go about life without committing themselves to anyone. More noticeably during the pandemic, loneliness has become the greatest companion of many, and they have become used to this. Some people have even come to prefer their own company. Medical research has also revealed that chronic loneliness can increase the risk of depression, dementia, stroke, cardiovascular disease, infection, and even premature death. Also, data collected in recent years suggests that the number of lonely people in the world is set to increase. A study carried out by the website Female First revealed that the number of singles has increased in the last 2 decades. Compared to the 90s, this number has increased by 50%. Loneliness has even become a cause for concern for governments. Here in the UK, a Minister for Loneliness was appointed in 2018 to tackle this issue, which affects 9 million Brits. Whilst loneliness is often caused by circumstances, there are many people nowadays who seek solitude by choice, whether as a form of refuge, a fear of being tied down to someone, or simply due to the lack of time. They are unable to imagine themselves connected to someone else for the rest of their lives.
Well, some very interesting points regarding loneliness right there. And as you can see, we were born to connect with people. And I've showed a picture before of when I was in Asia, and I was horrified with what I saw. I thought England was bad, but Asia is another level. People are literally stuck to their phones everywhere, all the time, crossing the streets, eating. I would go on a meal with my husband. You don't see couples talking. Everyone is on their device. Nobody's talking, nothing. So yeah, you start losing touch. You start losing this
disconnection.
Yeah, and then you wonder what's happening to your relationships and everything. And obviously loneliness will be a reflection. And also the illnesses, the physical
depression, sadness.
Yeah.
Why? Because, like you were saying, going for a meal. Like when you go for a meal, you don't want to go by yourself. You want to go with someone.
Yes.
You go to the cinema, you want to go with someone because that's how human beings are. We like companionship. Of course, sometimes, like you said, we want to be alone, but we were made to connect with people, and that's what's missing nowadays.
It's true. So today we're not going to be here boring you with lots of statistics and what science says and what doctors say, because probably you know all that. But we want to talk about loneliness from a different angle. From an angle that many people don't know about, or they forgot about, or they just don't want to think about it that way. Because it's just, it's hard work for you to do what you really need to do. Okay? So before we go into a few points that we want to share with you that can actually resolve the problem, let's have a quick look on social media, see what people said. So let's read one comment today only. It says, I remember I used to use many things as a way of escapism to fill the gap of loneliness. Many times I would go out to parties, bars, and such places to escape. However, this was only a temporary fulfillment. When everyone was gone, I still felt alone, and sometimes even being in the midst of people apparently having a good time, I still felt alone. The reason for this was because, one, I did not value myself and being my own person. The first step that helped me was I had to talk about my situation. Most people who feel alone tend to keep things bottled up inside and don't seek advice. So a very good points here.
Yes.
I have felt lonely when I was a teenager. I suffered with depression.
Yeah.
So same thing, I was surrounded by many people, but I still felt really, really lonely. It's very, very sad, this thing that people feel, this void, this
emptiness.
Yeah, it's really, really terrible. Some people who never felt this may think it's a very, it's nothing. Just snap out of it. It's not that simple. So I understand people who feel lonely. Now, Matilda, we also have street interviews.
Yes, we do.
Yes, shall we go and have a look?
Yes, let's have a look at what people have to say.
Loneliness can affect anyone. It is considered to be one of the largest public health challenges we face. According to a survey by the Campaign to End Loneliness, over 3 million people in 2022 suffered from chronic loneliness, meaning that they felt lonely often or always. My name is Marsha Varsiana, and we are here to find out how loneliness affects the people of London. How do you cope with loneliness?
Well, do you know, I don't necessarily have that much opportunity to feel lonely in my life right now because I have small children. But I guess it's really through connections with friends and family. I would tend to pick up the phone or make an arrangement to see someone.
Today, I cope with loneliness through having therapy. I journal, so I try and write down my feelings and process them. Still, I love music, so that helps me with, you know, if loneliness makes me feel sad, I'll listen to music, and even something like hearing lyrics that resonate help me feel connected, understand that I feel lonely, but I'm not necessarily alone, because I think you can sometimes not get the two confused, but when you feel isolated, is just noticing that there are people around you to support you.
It depends on your mood and what, you know, if you're not busy. I like to read. I walk a lot. I watch very bad television, and I'm retired, so it's specifically it can be, you know, and I'm married and I've got grandchildren, so actually I'd like to be lonely at the moment, but it can be very isolating if you haven't built up. The key is to build up a network. As you get older, you have to take your village with you, so you're constantly forming new connections. I'm here to visit my mum, and she's very lonely because she hasn't done that. Whereas I make an effort to make connections with different people.
Have you ever been lonely?
I have definitely been lonely. I think I felt very lonely when I stopped drinking. So I had a negative relationship with alcohol, and I chose to stop drinking alcohol. So I had to withdraw myself from certain social situations because I didn't want to be exposed to drinking. It was a big choice because society likes to drink alcohol. So I ended up spending a lot of time at home. I wasn't going out. Yeah, that made me feel really, really lonely. And I was single, I didn't have a partner, and it made it very hard to meet people. It took a lot of courage, but now I don't look back, and I met my partner and I have a healthy relationship because I was so desperate to meet someone and be with someone, but it was for all the wrong reasons. It was to stop being lonely rather than like looking after myself, if that makes sense.
Yes. Okay, I'm actually probably the wrong person because I like my own company. Loneliness can spur on into depression. Once you start going down that rabbit hole, it's hard to drag yourself out of it. So it's to be aware of that could be the problem, and having to make an effort when you can, because like my mum has dementia. Now it's too late. She didn't do that. That's what myself and my friends, we're really aware.
Yeah, I guess one of the kind of times when I felt very lonely probably has been as a mother of like when I've had small babies. I think it's a very lonely time for a lot of women. Nobody really tells you what it's going to be like, and you can feel very isolated, cut off. You can end up spending a lot of time on your own. It can be quite disconnecting.
What advice would you give to someone dealing with loneliness?
Reach out to somebody, call somebody, find a library. Go anywhere where there's people where you might have a common interest. Talk to your doctor, because it could be more than loneliness. It could be a little bit of depression as well. When I was here, you could go, you know, we had, for young people, it was youth centres. For older people, we had, you know, community centres. We had health centres, all those places where you could go and just sit and talk to somebody.
The advice I would give to someone dealing with loneliness is to try and find things that make you feel positive, try and find things that make you feel connected, whether that is joining a group, a walking group, or listening to music, or finding places where you can meet like-minded people.
Possibly some kind of talking therapy or counselling could be a good way to go, depending on, you know, there are some community services. You look into what's available in the local area, in your local area, I think sometimes people can find it really tough to actually reach out to a friend or a family member, and sort of, I think doing that is sort of almost half the battle.
Well, some very interesting comments there.
Very, very
right?
interesting. And it's very interesting, this lady that talks about alcohol as a way of her dealing with this loneliness, because she needed Dutch courage to be able to go out. You know, when you have a drink, then you become all fired up, ready to speak to people. But you take away the alcohol, and on the inside, she was just empty. She was lonely. She was sad. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that need this kind of things to feel like they can speak, to feel like they can overcome.
And sometimes, Matilda, you know, the only social situation, shall we say, is at a pub where everybody's drinking, or at a club where everyone is doing whatever. So it's like you have to do what they are doing in order to be with people and not feel lonely, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it brings about bad habits and addictions even, it's true. And it doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't. It only makes the problem worse.
Yeah. But you know someone mentioned, talk to somebody about it. Talk to someone about how you feel. You will not be weak or seen as a weak person because you are talking about what you're struggling with. And on the same note, I would like to remind you that we have a 24-hour helpline at our church. And we get phone calls like this every single day. We have a pastor or more available every single day, ready to advise you, to pray for you over the phone. And also there's our WhatsApp line.
Yes.
Okay, all the details are on the screen. If you don't feel comfortable talking, you can type. All right? And when you're ready, you can come and see us at the church and receive prayer, and you will see. Listen, I was delivered from loneliness and depression when I came to the church. And I'll tell you, we'll share with you a few points that work.
Yeah.
And again, maybe you say, well, I'm not a Christian. We are not talking about religion or beliefs here. But see it, for example, as any other video you watch about makeup. You will have the lady there telling you that this and that are best for that kind or this kind of skin. What do we usually do? We rush to the supermarket or the pharmacy and we try the foundation, don't we? So why don't you do this with matters of the soul? Okay? Matilda, let's go to the first point on how to overcome loneliness, please.
Yes, so we have a few points here. And the first one, and I believe it's the most important one, it says, invest in a relationship with God. He is always available and ready to listen to you. As you read the Bible and pray, you will feel less lonely. Learn to make your daily time with God a priority, and He will replace the feeling of loneliness with one of peace.
Why, Matilda? Because when you develop a relationship with God, you pray. Yeah. What is praying? Praying is you go into your bedroom, lock the door, go down on your knees and tell Him everything you feel. Tell Him that you feel empty. Tell Him that there is a void. Actually, this is how many people feel. Yeah. And sometimes they don't even know why. They've got everything they need, physically speaking, but they still feel empty and alone, okay? So this is why it's so great. You are always, you have someone to talk to who understands what you're going through and does not judge you, all right? So point number 2.
Call a friend or family member. Many people only text one another, which is less personal than a phone call. But speaking to someone can lift your spirits right away. And it's so true because nowadays we're very, quick, everything is so quick. Oh, let me just send a text. Let me just, send a voice note, which is good. But sometimes picking up the phone can make a difference in someone else's life because you don't know what your neighbor is going through. You don't know what your friend, your colleague is going through. But maybe at that moment, that phone call is what was going to make a difference in that person's life.
Make a phone call, talk to someone. Again, same thing. Of course, calling a friend doesn't mean you're going to tell them how you feel. No. But have this human interaction, okay? And also writing letters. I love that.
Yes, it's very old-fashioned.
But try writing a letter to someone. It's so nice. Okay, there's another point here. Get out of the house. if you spend most of your time at home, set a goal of getting out of the house a few times per week. A simple change in scenery can refresh you and connect you with others. So this is a very practical, simple step that you can take, which is because the tendency when you feel lonely is to isolate yourself even more, because it's like, actually, I think loneliness is very connected to depression. I'm not a psychologist, but I have felt these things. And back in my day, you didn't hear much about it. But that's how I felt, lonely and depressed at the same time. So going out, even though you don't feel like it, it's a good thing for you, okay? And obviously, go to your church, to your local church, talk to the pastor, take part in activities in the church. There's so much. At our church, we are always up to something.
24/7. We are open 7 days a week.
Yes, we are always up to something, helping people, volunteer at the soup kitchen, at the food bank. So much for you to get involved in, okay? There's another point, Matilda.
Yes, and it links exactly what you said. Walk into your nearest UCKG help center and speak to an advisor. One word can make a difference. You see, we said it all. We have so many help centers across the country now. The addresses are going to be, on the screen, or you can go to our website, uckg.org, where you can speak to an advisor and someone will be there to give you a word, and you can walk in anytime.
Yeah.
Any day, anytime. We're open every day. Someone will be there to help you.
Yes, and when you go to the church, it's not just, I'm going to the church and my problems will be solved. No, when you talk to the pastor, what happens? You are, going to the root of the problem. It may be painful at first to open up about, why you feel the way you feel, but maybe you will identify the reason why, or where it all started. So the man of God who is directed by God will give you advice on how to overcome whatever it is that you're going through, or to put things right from the past, or even pray for your inner healing. Okay? Everyone is different. Everyone needs something different. So come and speak to one of the pastors. All right? There's another point here. Be a friend to make a friend. Yes, that's a good one. If you are naturally shy, you may be waiting for someone to speak to you first. Sometimes when you make the first move, it builds your confidence and helps you practice social skills. Smiling, making eye contact, and giving genuine compliments are great ways to start a conversation. It's so true.
Yes.
Do you know what? You can maybe bake something. Maybe you are good at baking. Take some of your goodies to work or to your neighbors and knock at the door. Hello, I'm so-and-so. I live just across the road from you. I like to bake and I would like to give you some muffins or whatever you like to bake. So be creative. This is how people create connections. Exactly. This is how we used to be before the internet.
It's very true.
I remember, Matilda, that I'm from the 80s, okay? So I remember that every time my neighbor would run out of sugar or of something, she would come knocking at my door. And I would say, Mom, the neighbor is at the door. And then, Maria, I ran out of sugar. I'm in the middle of a recipe. Can you please? And it was so nice. And then the neighbor would come in, and then she would end up sitting down for a while, and then sometimes staying for lunch,
having a chit chat.
Yes, and then later on, the children would go and play with her children, and we are a big family. So be careful, okay? Be careful with technology, because it is all very good and useful. But when it comes to relationships, it's very, very dangerous. Yeah. So know when to put your phone down, your tablet down, or whatever, okay? I can't stress this enough, Matilda.
No, we have to have balance.
We do.
Because yes, technology is good for work, but technology can also cause huge distractions in our lives. Yeah. So we need to know when to have this balance.
Yeah, this is so important. There's a Bible verse, Matilda. Would you like to read it, please?
Yes, it says, "Be strong and of good courage, for the Lord your God, He is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. This is very true.
Can you see how God is right there all the way cheering you on? Mm-hmm. And maybe you are watching us now and you're thinking, well, yeah, I've heard all these motivational things. I've read many books and I have watched many talks on YouTube about loneliness. I challenge you. I really do. I challenge you to book an appointment right now with one of our pastors to come and talk about what's going on. And you will find a solution to that loneliness. If you don't tune in to All About You anymore, or don't ever come back to our church. This is how sure I am of you finding recovery or healing. Okay? Really. I really pray that you take on this advice. All right? Just before we go, we're going to leave you with another real life story to show you that people who come to the help center, to our church, they see results. So take a look at this story, and I'm actually, sometimes they can actually meet the people in the videos, right?
You can.
I don't know, is she from London?
She's from Boring. She's from our church in Birmingham.
Okay, so this is a real person sharing her real struggles before she came to the church and how she overcame. So I hope you enjoy it. Join us again next week. Bye-bye.
Faith helped me to believe in myself, first of all, because when I was younger, I was adopted. So this really brought an emptiness inside of me. There was a lot of questions. So through faith, I started to believing not only in myself, but I saw a purpose of life. My life today is absolutely amazing. My finances has been completely restored from a person that didn't really know what to do with life. Right now, I'm working in the field that I've studied for so many years. I'm working as a finance cost controller in the hospitality industry. Also, my family is completely restored. I had a lot of problems that came from the past. My health, everything now is completely restored. I've been living a completely transformed life now for about 5 years. My life has never been the same. I'm much happier, I have peace, and I cannot even believe it has been already 5 years because my life was completely going downhill. I was depressed. I grew up as a very empty teenager and I seeked a lot of attention because of the fact that I didn't grow up with my parents. After a while, when I was a teenager again with 15, I escaped being raped. So this always brought me a thought in my mind of I'm not meant to be in this world. So I tried to find out everything. I started drinking, I started partying, having wrong friendships. I became in the lowest point where I started using drugs because of a wrong relationship I was in with someone that was 20 years older than me, because I tried to fill the void that I had inside of me. And that's when I found out that I was dependent on alcohol, because I could not even study without drinking or having some type of substance in my body. And that's how I was before I knew the faith of the Universal Church. The process for me to learn how to use my faith was amazing, because I wasn't just given the word of God, but I was taught how to put it into practice, because that was the main problem. I knew the Bible, I knew that there was a God out there, but I didn't know how that word that happened so many years ago, how that could be put into practice in my life nowadays. And that was the most amazing thing, the process of learning how to put your faith into action, how to believe that there can be an end through the word of God. And the process was absolutely amazing. Being part of the Universal Church and also being an assistant, I participate in evangelistic work. And it's just amazing that now I can tell the people that are out there that there is a solution, there is a purpose, there is something that can be filled, the emptiness, the loneliness that I felt. Now I see myself as someone that has a purpose, as someone that has a goal. My vision completely changed. Life has so much more meaning to me because I see the value of other people. I didn't see my own value. Now I see people as souls, people that actually have a solution. Because I gave up on myself, I also gave up on people. So my life completely transformed. Now I have a reason to smile. I have a reason to feel peace. I have God inside of me, which is something so great that is almost impossible to explain. But it's amazing to invite other people to encounter what I one day have encountered and what I'm living today. I don't regret being part of the Universal Church at all. Being part of the Universal Church has been my foundation. It has been the start of my whole beginning. It's like I'm a whole new person. I have a whole new life. So I don't regret at all being part of this amazing work, which I know that I'm still going to grow much more, give much more of what I have to those that are suffering, to those that want to give up on life like I wanted one day. So I don't regret at all.
Every 2 months, on the first Saturday of the month, the Godlywood Self-Help Seminar takes place at 3 p.m. here in the Rainbow Theatre. It is an eye-opening event which always provides something to learn. The day is marked by the attendance of numerous women who aspire to a common goal: transformation.
These meetings help me to understand that there are hidden issues within myself, and not only just to acknowledge that, but also how to target them and how to work on them, how to perfect your ways.
Regardless of their age, culture, and background, through these meetings, participants are able to discover their true potential. They are able to learn how to build self-confidence, restore self-esteem, and develop an excellent spirit. Arriving early to secure a front row seat, as well as bringing a pen and a notebook, are parts of the preparatory process so as not to miss anything that is taught.
Why do we need faith? Faith was given to us to overcome difficult situations. Faith is the assurance of things that you can't see, but you know will come to pass.
At the end, the seminars close with a prayer. This is for spiritual strengthening, for these women to leave renewed and ready to face the challenges of everyday life. They would then become equipped to overcome their challenges with strength and determination, putting into practice everything that they have learnt. At 232 Seven Sisters Road, Finsbury Park, London N4 3NX. Also live streamed to universal churches outside of London.